Every project is unique. Our expertise makes the difference. Visit our downtown Mooresville studio by booking your 100% risk-free appointment today at greatdesignforyou.com. Design beyond your dreams.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, the journey for focus, clarity, and mental mastery is about to begin. Live from WSIC Studios on the shores of Lake Norman, the show that gives you the tools to think sharper, sleep deeper, manage stress, and unlock your full mental potential. This is Your Brain Matters. And now, with over 30 years of brain science, more than 70,000 brain analyses, bringing neuroscience to everyday life, here's your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Welcome everyone to Your Brain Matters. This could be the most important hour that you spend of your week. Not because of me, but because we're talking about the brain, which is your greatest asset. Your brain is your greatest asset. There's not a more important thing that you possess. Your brain matters to your health. It matters to your future, to how you process your unresolved past. It matters to your relationships, to your job. It impacts everything. It is surely the most wondrous thing in the entire universe, your brain. And I can't be more excited than today talking to you about this and how we can improve that. However, I am slightly saddened, not slightly, very saddened, because my co-host, Amy, who's usually over here to my right, let's see the empty chair over here. Is there any way we can kind of look over there? See it? There's an empty chair. Amy doesn't sit in the chair currently. She is not with us, and I know she wants to be here, but see the chair? It's just empty. Not, she's the eye candy. And she's not here. She's also the brains of Your Brain Matters. She is actually in Michigan right now, where we used to live for 26 years. Yes, I know. Very, very difficult. Who would choose to live in Michigan? But we lived there and endured the winters, and now we're here. But she's up there with her father, Papa Joe, who is probably not going to be with us much longer. He's in those final days of his life here, and struggle. It's been a struggle. Amy's taken care of him for years. She's taken care of him, and now we're kind of in those last days. So we're praying for Papa as he starts this transition to the next life, and praying for Amy and the caregivers and the nurses and all the people who are around the bed this next few days with him. So we know that's where she needs to be. She can't be on the show today, so you've got me. But I have a few things that she asked me to talk about. So let's go through some of the business of what's going on in Royer Neuroscience. We're really excited about our partnership with Inner Armor and our recent connection with Clear 28, who works with NASCAR here locally. That just came up this week, which is really, really cool. We also started High Point Baseball, their entire baseball team. John Wieringa, my business partner in Inner Armor, we went up there last week and did a lecture with those guys. These are first-class young men. I have never had so many people after a lecture come up, strong handshake, eye contact, thank you, sir. I mean, just so polite and respectful. And then how much information they took in, just amazing. Those guys, they had really great questions. It's really inspiring to see not just, athletes, but to see sharp, respectful guys, young adults, pursuing education and understanding, trying to understand the brain. So their brain matters, and they're trying to figure that out. Also, coming up In March, we're going to do another Reclaim Your Brain Matters lecture in Naples. Naples is on fire right now. I cannot believe how many people we have going in the program through Naples. And then it's the last week, Amy would say, if she was here, finally, we're done with this, but it is the last week of our grand opening special. So you have until the last day of this month to get the discount of the $500 assessment, which is 3 areas of your brain assessing what your heart rate variability, your vagus nerve, your breathing, how that impacts your overall functioning. Normally $500, $250. That also includes 45 minutes with me. Really looking forward to the people that we already have signed up for this, but try to get in there this next week. The way that you get into that is 616-341-2299. Text us for the assessment. Also, we're giving away a free book this week. Tsunami talks about a book that Amy and I wrote, talks about anxiety and depression and how to face that head on in a culture where this is kind of overtaking us. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pull up our quote this week, Your Brain Matters quote. And this is a client, but also somebody that I've just really enjoyed working with and developing a friendship with. His name's Jake Stiano, who's on the America's Cup tour, the America's tour. And Jake is a up-and-coming golfer, doing a great job. He was actually out here, came out to Denver and to the golf course where I live on Verdict Ridge, and we spent a couple days together, worked on how his brain impacts his overall functioning, and it was really cool to get out on the golf course, and we would have a breathing belt on him so we could read what his breathing was doing while he was playing golf. And so we attached that to some music on a speaker, and the speaker would only play the music when his breathing was correct. Isn't that cool? So he would be playing, but he'd be standing over a putt, and his breathing would get off. The music would stop instantaneously. So he knew to step away from the putt and to kind of recalibrate his autonomic nervous system and get his breathing. We also are able to do that with the heart, and it's really cool when we do it with the brain. I used to have this golfer that the music would always play, great driving, great chip shots. The moment his foot touched the green, the music would stop because his brain was racing too fast. It was like almost instantaneous. Stepping on the green would create stress, and we could pick that up. But this is what Jake has to say. My brain matters to help process everything around me. And in golf, those of you that play, there's a lot going on around you. On the course, the type of shot I want to hit starts with my brain. Where is the flag? What is the wind direction? What is the yardage? My brain processes all of this. Off the course, it helped me understand what I need to improve on in my life. Being able to process every situation with a level head starts with the brain. And that's not just on the golf course, that's in life. Sometimes we hit the bunkers, sometimes we go into the water, and we got to learn that our brain matters for getting us out of trouble and performing at the highest level. Let's go.
Don't go anywhere. Dr. Tim Royer will be right back with more ways to make your brain work for you. Your Brain Matters on WSIC. Local starts here.
Well, I tell you, 40s really seem warm compared to where we've been the last several days. Low 40s, partly cloudy for our Thursday afternoon. Dropping off into the 20s again overnight. 40s tomorrow with increasing clouds for your Friday ahead of what could be some accumulating snow around Lake Norman. Dry, fluffy stuff for our Saturday. Still ironing out details on amounts and how much and timing, but that's coming. Stay tuned. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Give the gift of wow. Shop at Harrison's. They'll be all smiles in new Carhartt. Ariat has layers they'll love, and there's nothing merrier than a pair of Tacovas. Find gifts for everyone at the home of Work Western and wow in Mooresville or at harrisonsusa.com.
Here's your WSIC community calendar.
Let's start in Mooresville, where Sail Again Children's Consignment is back.
Sail Again runs February 4th through the 8th at a new location, the Merino Mill Complex, with entrance at 200 Brawley Avenue.
Early shopping starts Wednesday, February 4th, with additional early access on Thursday. And then it's free public shopping Friday through Sunday. For times, tickets, and all the details, head to sailagainlkn.com.
Next up, if you're ready for a night out that's a little more dramatic.
The Murder Mystery Dinner featuring Sigmund Theatrical happens February 13th and 14th at 7 p.m.
This is a fully interactive experience where a museum setting turns into a live whodunit.
It's dinner, theater, intrigue, and suspense all rolled into one. And yes, perfect for Valentine's weekend.
Get ticket and location info at mooresvilleevents.com/OurTownStage.
And finally, head north to Statesville to warm up with some serious creativity.
Featuring incredible quilts, needlework, and handcrafted art from talented makers across the region.
Whether you're a longtime quilter, like myself,
or just appreciate the skill
and patience,
this one's worth checking out.
The Quilting and Needle Art Extravaganza at the Statesville Civic Center. Admission is $5. For more details, visit downtownstatesville.com.
For more Lake Norman news, weather updates, events, job opportunities, and real estate information, visit liveworkplaylkn.com.
That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Brain Science Made Simple. Your Brain Matters, hosted by Dr. Tim Royer, continues on WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Your Brain Matters. As we go into this next part, it's going to be a little different than what we normally do. We usually do an Into the Mind with Amy and me, but I decided to kind of use these few minutes for this section to go into the mind of Amy's dad, who is probably not going to be with us much longer, for a couple more days. And as he's kind of in that transition from here to there, kind of talk through a little bit about this person's life, and then also the kind of the key variables kind of at the end of life that we're dealing with, which we've been talking a lot about sleep the last couple times. And that's kind of one of the main things we're focusing on with him, is helping him be not be so restless and agitated at night, and trying to work on his sleep. And then as many of you know that have kind of gone through experience like this with hospice or with a loved one, breathing becomes kind of the final thing, right? Is that you're looking at those breaths, you know, and as I text Amy, well, how's he breathing? What's going on? And it's almost like every breath kind of counts. If you've ever been with somebody when they're dying, not to be morbid, but this is part of life, is dying, is it really comes down to the last breath, right? And our lives start with that breath, and we're given that as a gift from our Creator, our breath. And when we were created, we were breathed into the dust in the ground. It was breath. And Amy and I talk about that a lot because it has a lot to do with our sleep. It has a lot to do with performance. It has everything to do with life. And as I kind of think of Papa Joe, Amy's dad's name is Joe, Dr. Joe DeCook, I think about he's struggling for those breaths, right? And we all just take those for granted, but they're super, super important. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this guy. He's 90 years old. His wife passed away, Joyce, about 6 months ago. But Joe, I think it's important for us to look at stories, right? And look at people in a world where sometimes it's hard to find a true north in somebody. Try to find that person that's that steady rock for you. This is one of those people that have lived that for 90 years of his life. And he's committed his life to helping people. So Joe was born in the UP. You guys might not know what the UP is, but that's the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. There's actually people that live up there on the very, very cold area of Michigan in a very, very small town. And it wasn't until he went to college that he actually crossed the bridge. And back they didn't have a bridge back then. You took a ferry across. And he went off to the University of Michigan a long time ago and went to school. And after school, he went to med school at the University of Michigan and became a doctor. He's a physician. And he decided to specialize in obstetrics and delivering babies and started a practice in Grand Rapids, Michigan. But he felt a call on his life very early on that he wanted to use his skills to help people to do more than just the profession he was in, but to actually take that to unreached people. So Joe and Joyce and their 4 children, Amy's the youngest of the 4 children, decided to leave kind of a comfortable place in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he had his physician practice, delivering babies, doing all the work there. And they decided to go to the mission field, and very early on, they went to Bangladesh, to an area that back in those years, it still is a third world country, but you can imagine many in the 60s how bad that was there. And they decided to go to a place where there was no hospital and actually build a hospital. Wow, that's pretty amazing, right? Go in the middle of nowhere they don't speak your language, and build a hospital. So him and 3 other couples, they built a hospital in an area of Bangladesh. Now it's a huge facility. People come from all over the country of Bangladesh to use this hospital. It's amazing how it started. And they also wanted to build a school there. They did that. And then they wanted to translate the Bible into Bengali. And Amy's mom was very talented in languages, and they were a part of translating the Bible for the first time. Well, Amy grew up there in Bangladesh, and her dad was not just delivering babies, but taking care of people who, we don't have this happen very often in our hospitals, that would get stepped on by elephants or have crazy things happen to them, get run over on these dirt roads, and they would bring them in, and her dad would patch them back up. And amazing. So they had raised these 4 kids there, Amy being one of those. And then they actually experienced a civil war in Bangladesh, if you know your history. And the family had to evacuate by barge in the middle of the night while bombs were going off. And once it all settled down, rather than coming back home, they went back and they did more work and more work. Amy's mom got sick, and they had to come back home, where he started a practice in Grand Rapids, Michigan, when Amy was in 7th grade, and delivered hundreds and thousands of babies. But he decided his work wasn't done, so he started to work with an organization of obstetrics and gynecologists that deal with helping promote pro-life. And he appeared before Congress to present his cases about how to deal with the trauma of women experiencing abortion, and many, many years he dealt with that and tried to help those people. Long-term Sunday school teacher, but the most thing about Dad is that he was present and he was available for his kids despite all the different things that he had going on. And so, you may not have expected, hearing somebody's story today, but I think it's worth it to take a few minutes. We all have a story to tell, and this person's story has been very unique. For 90 years on this planet, he has given himself to help people, to deliver thousands and thousands of children, to bring them into the world. People have loved him for his bedside manner and particularly his humor. And we're all there with him as he takes these last couple days and these breaths. I was with him a few weeks ago, and we have a device that measures the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is your ability for your body to stay calm and to regulate stress around you. And it was very fascinating to see how the Parkinson's, not fascinating, but it was just to see it, how negatively it impacted our vagus nerve and his vagus nerve. And it was down to about maybe 3% functioning. And how I started to realize how important that vagus nerve is in all of our functioning, and started to realize, you know what? We have so many people that you don't even know what the vagus nerve is, and you're not measuring it, but is one of the number one things that impacts our sleep and impacts our recovery. And we're going to learn more about that as we go. But when we go into the next portion, where we're going to pick up from the last 2 weeks of how we manage sleep, it's important for us to understand that our vagus nerve is one of the most important things that regulates how we manage stress. And to see this man's vagus nerve a few weeks ago, you could see what was coming because it was giving way. And we could see that wasn't working like it needs to. We could also see, like I said, in his sleep patterns, all of a sudden the sleep started to become very unusual, very restless and irritated these last couple weeks as he's kind of approaching these last days. And many of us, we just take it for granted, sleep, and we don't realize how important it is to invest into our sleep. But when you see this kind of at the end of the life, you realize, wow, how important sleep is once it goes away, the body has no way to recover. So thank you for letting me tell this story of Joe, Papa Joe, and just as we go into the next episode, we're going to look at how we manage sleep. How do you manage your sleep? So we're going to look at it from a few different angles. And the first is actually kind of an interesting concept, is that many times we think about sleep occurring at night, that I need to do something before I'm going to bed. But I want to encourage you as we go into this next portion, is that when we're talking about managing sleep, it's not something that happens at 10:30 at night or 9:30 at night. It's actually what is going on at 9:30 a.m., what's going on at 12 noon, what's going on at 3 p.m. Those are the things that really determine what our 9:30 p.m., what our midnight looks like. That 3 a.m. awakening that you're happening, that's not just because of something happening at 3 a.m. That's happening because of something that's happening at 3 p.m. And so we're going to get into this, and we're going to first look at, as we go into the science of how we manage our sleep, we're going to be looking at what are you doing during the daytime hours that are crucial to managing your nighttime hours. Okay? You're in a culture that's telling you, well, if you can't sleep, let's just give you a sedative at this point in time. But that isn't how you function. You're a global being. You're a circadian rhythm being that works in a 24-hour cycle. So to truly understand sleep and how to manage it, what we want to do is look at what's going on in the daytime first. And then as we get to the end of that episode, we'll talk about what can we be doing at night as well.
Take a breath. Let your brain reset. We'll be right back with Dr. Tim Royer on Your Brain Matters. WSIC, local, starts here.
Well, I tell you, 40s really seem warm compared to where we've been the last several days. Low 40s, partly cloudy for our Thursday afternoon. Dropping off into the 20s again overnight. 40s tomorrow, but increasing clouds for your Friday ahead of what could be some accumulating snow around the late morning. Dry, fluffy stuff for our Saturday. Still ironing out details on amounts and how much and timing, but that's coming. Stay tuned. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Lowry Drug is a source for excellent pharmacy services. We have served the Statesville community since 1959. We have attentive customer service, a state-of-the-art compounding laboratory, and the Dispill medication packaging system that takes the work out of medication management for those using medication planners. We do it for you. Come see us at Lowry Drug in Statesville. Call 704-873-2247. Come see us.
Spotless Cleaning, how can we make your day spotless? Yes, we make not just toilets spotless, but also counters, cabinets, and kitchens. We make your whole house, your whole day spotless. My grandparents taught me the details, not the things, make your home and your life luxurious. Yes, they raised me in Brazil. And that's why we will never charge you extra for baseboards. Let me help you be a diva a few hours a week. SpotlessCleaningNC.com.
This is Sheriff Darren Campbell with the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Every day, scammers are targeting people right here in our community through phone calls, emails, and text messages, trying to steal your money, your personal information, and even your identity. If someone calls claiming to be from a government, a bank, or even law enforcement demanding money or personal details, stop and think. Legitimate organizations will never ask for gift cards, wire transfers, or your passwords over the phone or email. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Hang up, don't click that link, and never share personal information with someone you don't trust. At the Iredell County Sheriff's Office, we're working to protect our community, and we're proud to partner with WSIC because local starts here, and keeping you informed keeps you safe. Stay alert, stay smart, and don't fall for a scam.
No one should face an empty plate, especially in our own backyard. At Angels and Sparrows, we are feeding families, fueling futures, and fighting poverty every day. But we can't do it without you. Help us keep our plates full. Join our full plate fundraiser at angelsandsparrows.org.
Looking for an upscale night out? Welcome to VIN 110 in Cornelius, Lake Norman's destination for great drinks, great buys, and live music. With over 500 whiskeys, 100 wines, a full craft cocktail list, and small plates kitchen, we built something special. Enjoy live music every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, monthly comedy nights, and curated wine and whiskey tastings. VIN 110, where your night becomes the main event. Find us at 19712 1 Norman Boulevard, Suite 110 in Cornelius.
Feeling stressed? Can't focus? It's not just in your head, it's in your brain. Dr. Tim Royer shows you how to reset and refocus on Your Brain Matters. Thursdays at 4 on WSIC. Listen live, on air, online, or on the WSIC News app.
The button pushing stops here.
WSIC. Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Microsoft's more than $400 billion wipeout in stock market valuation would be the second largest in history if it holds through the close. Shares of the software giant were down as much as 12% after reporting record spending and slowing cloud sales growth. Capital expenditures for the fiscal second quarter hit $37.5 billion. That was up 66% from a year earlier. Comcast reported revenue and profit in the fourth quarter that met or surpassed Wall Street expectations, despite shedding 181,000 domestic broadband customers and losing another 245,000 pay TV customers. The cable giant did find success by bundling mobile service with Xfinity Internet, adding 364,000 such lines in the quarter. Grubhub is removing delivery and service fees on all restaurant orders above $50 in an effort to lure customers from rivals. Grubhub says that 81% of customers have at some point filled their cart and abandoned it because of excess fees. Dan Schwartzman, Bloomberg Radio.
Don't miss a thing. Download the WSIC News app today. WSIC. Local starts here.
We're back with more ways to understand the most powerful computer you'll ever own. Your Brain. Your Brain Matters, hosted by Dr. Tim Royer, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back, Lake Norman. It's good to have you back. Your Brain Matters. We're going to finish up our third section on sleep, which is managing your brain, managing your sleep. We first did the metrics, or how we measure it, okay? And then we are looking at today about how we're managing it, So why is sleep so important? Well, it's the number one thing that your brain needs. I always say this: most important part of your sleep is what you or of your day is what you did last night. Let's listen to that again. The most important part of your day, so what we're doing right now at 4:35 and 55 seconds, is dependent upon what I was doing last night at 4:35 a.m. because that is how my brain restores itself so that I can function right now. My functioning right now, the energy that I'm using, is determined by how well I stored that energy up at night. So my ability to perform at my job, perform in life, my health, my wellness, everything comes out of what's going on in the sleep cycle. It's the single most important thing. When we think about performance, it is the game changer, is how do we improve sleep? I was just meeting with this company and looking at different things related to performance. And the first thing that we ended up talking about was how do we improve the different employees' sleep, because that's what's going to make the difference. And depriving you of your sleep is not something to be worn like a badge of honor. It's actually something that suggests that you're not using your brain well and not leveraging it. So let's talk about how we manage it. So we're going to first talk about how we manage during the day. So the number one thing about the daytime functioning is something in your brain called your theta waves. These are like measurements of the battery pack in your brain, how well the battery pack is filled. Okay, so thetas, when they're right in the optimal range, which is 2.7, we know that your brain is where it should be. If you come in with a theta during the middle of the day that's a 1.8, we know that your brain didn't charge fully last night, and your bandwidth is going to be very limited. Also, your frustration tolerance, all kinds of things. So it's very important for you to understand what your thetas are, to read the brain and see what they're telling us. We can see these thetas diminish over time to the point that we know that they're precursors to potential memory problems. So that's why we want to be reading the theta all the time. Also during the day, we need to manage our heart rate variability or our vagus nerve functioning in relation to our heart. And that's your physiological mechanism for braking. So if you don't have a strong vagus nerve, it's going to be very hard for you to sleep at night because the vagus nerve acts as your body's brake pedal. Well, there's things that we can be doing during the day to improve our vagus nerve functioning so we'll sleep better at night. And the number one thing that you do for that is diaphragmatic breathing. Here we are back at breathing. We start life with breathing, we end life with breathing, and the way we optimize our functioning for our potential sleep patterns being strong is through improving the vagus nerve through diaphragmatic breathing. We recommend using our breathing belt that measures that going in and out. 8 minutes a day of breathing over a 9-week period of time and improving your coherence, which is your vagus nerve functioning, will improve the quality of your sleep by 35%. Did you catch that? 35% by just breathing and working with my heart. That's not Ambien. That's not, Xanax. That is teaching the body how to activate the vagus nerve so I can shut down at night appropriately, that the physiological brake pedal will work correctly. When you're awake at night, it's because your vagus nerve is not doing its job, which is to brake pedal. So we got to figure out how to get that guy working better. Now, the big one, big one is light. How you're exposed to light during the day impacts how you're going to sleep at night. So in the morning, we are daytime creatures. We're not nighttime creatures. In the morning, we need a lot of blue light. We need blue light. And people don't realize this, but as the seasons change and we go from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, we have a major change in light exposure. So in Michigan, we'd almost get an 8-hour swing in light. That's almost a full sleep cycle. That's what disrupts your sleep patterns. It's also the precursor to seasonal affective disorder. So if I'm going to manage my sleep, I have to be working with light. And particularly, I have to work with blue light. Blue light is what triggers the morning awakening and the release of cortisol in your body. Cortisol is adrenaline, and we need that to awaken correctly and to get the body moving in the morning. And so we should have a burst of cortisol in the morning to kind of wake us up. And one of the big drivers of that is how much sunlight we're exposed to, or blue light. Now, the thing about this blue light is we want that to decrease as the day goes on and into the evening, because we don't want to keep releasing cortisol. And if we keep having more blue light, you've read this, what ends up happening is we decrease our melatonin. So we want a lot of blue in the morning, and we want just minimal to no blue at night. So how do we control that? One of the things that we use is blue blocker glasses. Okay, not just something built into your normal lenses, but you need some really good blue blockers. Swannies are great. I would recommend those. But the reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to get all blue out of my visual fields at night so that I don't decrease melatonin. Melatonin hates blue light, and you need melatonin at its peak right around midnight. And if you're not managing your light correctly, then you're going to disrupt the production of melatonin. So what we recommend in the morning is using a full spectrum light. You can get one like a Verilux on Amazon for like $50. They're fantastic. 20 minutes. I mean, these are life-changing for people. Use one of these Verilux in the morning. Another one that I like is something called Human Charger, made in Finland, which interestingly, they probably deal with a lot of light issues in the winter, right? And the Human Charger is fantastic. You put them in your ear canal, and they go for a time period, and then they go off. So you wear them like headphones, little earbuds, and you can be driving to work, you can be doing stuff around the house, and you have these on. I use these a lot with my pro athletes who, have really tight schedules, but they put them in the morning. We've actually had whole sports teams. I used to travel with the Orlando Magic where we would use these lights as we would try to change the sleep cycle depending on which time zone they were in. So if you're traveling, you can actually adjust your light ahead of time so that you're able to be acclimated to the place you're going with a time change by adjusting the blue light ahead of time. We do that for a lot of teams that travel to Europe, football teams that do that in the fall, is we change their exposure to blue light before they ever get to Europe so that their brain is acclimated in their sleep cycles. But light therapy is one of the main things. I'd put breathing first, but I put light therapy there. So blue light in the morning, very little blue light at night, okay? So I'm also going to give you some things now to do in the evening. So Amy's 5 tips is what I'm going to start the next segment on. Her 5 tips. Amy gave me 5 tips that she wants us to be looking at for the evening. So during the day, we're working on light, we're working on breathing, and one other thing during the day is I really want to work on my nutrition, okay? Nutrition, I want to be careful not to overload carbohydrates too late in the day. It's okay if you have some in the morning, but I need you to not be doing these after 4 o'clock because we don't want those fast burners. We want proteins and fats. Carbs in the morning, fine, but let's go ahead and be thinking more proteins and fats as you approach the evening. But during the day, be very careful with these. Don't introduce carbohydrates late in the day or it's going to mess up the sleep cycle. Okay, let's go.
Discover what your brain's been trying to tell you. Your Brain Matters with Dr. Tim Royer will be right back. WSIC, local, starts here.
Well, I tell you, 40s really seem warm compared to where we've been the last several days. Low 40s, partly cloudy for our Thursday afternoon. Dropping off into the 20s again overnight. 40s tomorrow, but increasing clouds for your Friday ahead of what could be some accumulating snow around Lake Norman. Dry, fluffy stuff for our Saturday. Still ironing out details on amounts and how much and timing, but that's coming. Stay tuned. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar.
Let's start in Mooresville, where Sail Again Children's Consignment is back.
Sail Again runs February 4th through the 8th at a new location, the Merino Mill Complex, with entrance at 200 Brawley Avenue.
Early shopping starts Wednesday, February 4th, with additional early access on Thursday. And then it's free public shopping Friday through Sunday. For times, tickets, and all the details, head to sailagainlkn.com.
Next up, if you're ready for a night out that's a little more dramatic.
The Murder Mystery Dinner featuring Sigmund Theatrical happens February 13th and 14th at 7 p.m.
This is a fully interactive experience where a museum setting turns into a live whodunit.
It's dinner, theater, intrigue, and suspense all rolled into one. And yes, perfect for Valentine's weekend.
Get ticket and location info at mooresvilleevents.com/OurTownStage.
And finally, head north to Statesville to warm up with some serious creativity.
Featuring incredible quilts, needlework, and handcrafted art from talented makers across the region.
Whether you're a longtime quilter, like myself,
or just appreciate the skill
and patience,
this one's worth checking out.
The Quilting and Needle Art Extravaganza at the Statesville Civic Center. Admission is $5. For more details, visit downtownstatesville.com.
For more Lake Norman news, weather updates, events, job opportunities, and real estate information, visit liveworkplaylkn.com.
That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
We're back with more of what your brain's been craving: balance, calm, and better thinking. Your Brain Matters with Dr. Tim Royer. WSIC Local starts here.
Welcome back, guys. You've had to go this whole episode without Amy. I know that's hard. I appreciate you bearing with me, but we're doing great. Okay, it's good. We're going to get into this last section about managing, where we're not just looking at what's going on during the day. Okay, to review during the day, we want to be focused on our diet. We want to be focusing on what's going on with light. We want to focus on our vagus nerve via our diaphragmatic breathing. And we need to understand what's going on in our theta waves. Those are the daytime kind of things that we focus on. To go into this last section, what do we do at night when I can't sleep? Okay. But before doing that, I want to read this quote. This is from 1609. Okay, 1609. So this is a few years ago, written by a guy, Thomas Dekker, who was like a writer. And he starts this quote by, "Consider what an excellent thing sleep is. Sleep is the golden chain that binds health and our bodies together." That's 1609. It's the golden chain that binds health and our bodies together. I mean, little did he know how much research we would do on sleep and realize that when we don't sleep well, it impacts everything related to our body. Almost every chronic illness either is brought on by poor sleep or it's made worse through poor sleep. We know that third shift workers who have to work when they should be sleeping have a higher prevalence of every disease on the planet. It's the golden chain that binds health and our bodies together. So imagine you've got like this chain or this necklace around your neck that's symbolic of your sleep. What does your golden chain look like? That's my kind of challenge to you. Is it one that's got all kinds of broken links and it's tarnished and it's frail, and every time you bump against it, one of the links breaks, and that linkage between sleep and your health is very, very weak? Or do you have this golden chain that you carry with you that ties your sleep to your health and your body so that they're working at their fullest potential. And the thing is, we don't walk blindly through this. We don't. I've already talked to you about, we can measure these things. Like we can look at what your sleep cycle's doing. We can look at your vagus nerve. We can look at your breathing. We can look at your brain. We can measure how good your golden chain is, or even if it is it even golden, right? Is it breaking apart? And so I want to challenge you, make your sleep stronger, make the golden chain strong. I did a lecture for the Orlando Magic many years ago to all their staff. It was like 400 people. And I brought out this massive golden chain, and I said, our challenge this year is to create this chain and not to have, I had this other thing that was just like a string of paper clips. I said, this is not what we're doing to bind our health to our bodies. So let's look at that. So let's talk about some tips. We're going to start first with Amy's 5 tips, and they include some supplements to kind of help if you're having a hard time getting to sleep or staying asleep, okay? So magnesium, number 1, very important. Magnesium is super important because that relaxes the muscles, can be super helpful for sleep. Then another thing that can be helpful is some progesterone cream, even for males. That can be super helpful. Back of your neck, back of your arms. Progesterone is very helpful for sleep patterns. And then we all know about melatonin, but you got to use melatonin correctly. So if you're having a problem initiating sleep, you don't really need the short-acting melatonin as much because you're going to sleep. You don't have like this insomnia to get to sleep. But when you're doing the 3 a.m. wakening, okay, that's when you need that. So a long-acting melatonin is much helpful for that. So you kind of got to look at, everybody's different in their sleep disruption when they have it, and look at what that is, okay? Is it something trying to get to sleep, or is it more me waking up later, okay? One of the opposites that you don't want to be thinking about, which a lot of people say, well, I just have a little alcohol before I go to sleep. Like a little bit of wine helps. It may help initiate sleep because it does have a sedating quality, but it is a toxin. So that's very important that you understand that. Probably the worst thing that you could do is introduce that, because it's going to try to work its way out of your system, and it's also going to change your blood sugar levels right around the point around 3 a.m., and all of a sudden you're awakening and like, well, this works so well for me to go to sleep. Well, it's not going to have that long-term effect that you need to carry through all the stages of sleep. So something like a long-acting melatonin will help with that. And then the other thing I want you to think about is what's your nutrition like for sleeping. We said that for the daytime is try to avoid those carbohydrates at night. But I want you to think about, it's no surprise. If you're one of those 2 a.m., 3 a.m. awakening people, it's not a surprise to you. It happens again. So why aren't you preparing for it? Why aren't you preparing for that awakening? And the first thing I would introduce is some type of nutrition. So when you wake, don't sit there and mess around with it. First thing is have on your nightstand a little glass of water, get some hydration, and then add some type of protein, some protein or fat. So a protein bar or some nuts or something to just fuel the fire. Because as we get older, our blood sugar is more fragile. And so we might not have enough in the fuel tank as far as something that's around our cells called phosphatidylserine that breaks down. And we might not have enough to manage the blood sugar levels throughout the night. And so needing to assist that a little bit with some fat and protein. So first get, a little drink, then some type of fat or protein, just a little bit. You're not eating a whole meal here. We're not having a smorgasbord at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., but just a little snack. And then we start our deep breathing. So if I've taught you, if you've come to us and we've taught you how to use the diaphragmatic breathing through the breathing belt, not through some silly app or whatever, but literally put the belt on and measure that. Now's when we initiate that, because I want to push up against that vagus nerve from the diaphragm, activate the vagus nerve with that diaphragmatic push. And now the vagus nerve, we all should know this by now from this episode, is it acts as a brake pedal. Boom. All of a sudden, I've kicked the brake pedal in, and I'm now going into parasympathetic. So that diaphragmatic breathing, if I know how to do it correctly, pushes up against that. Another thing that we can be doing at night is we really want to manage temperature. You need to keep the temperature as low as you can kind of handle and then have extra covers available, okay? Amy and I were really pushing this a few years ago, and we had sometimes where we had the room as cold as 56. It was insane. We would open the door in Michigan, or open the window in Michigan in the wintertime, but we had a bunch of covers and stuff that we would put on based on how our bodies needed more heat. But a lot of times people set the temperature too high, and then their body doesn't respond like it needs to in the evening. So you got to understand this. At the lowest point of your body temperature occurs halfway through your sleep cycle. This is called the temperature nadir, or its lowest point. So your body needs to kind of do this cooling down process where it can get into these deep stages of sleep. And the number one kind of thing that inhibits that is when we set the temperature in the room too high, the body has a hard time getting into this low temperature response that creates this hibernating factor. So keeping the temperature low and then having blankets that you can use to kind of offset that. There is something called a chili pad, which works really well, which changes temperature of what you're laying on at night. We find those to be super helpful as well. The Sleep 8 system does that too, but controlling temperature is super important. And then one of the main things, we've talked about light and how important the blue light is in the morning, no blue at night. But then when we're sleeping, we need to decrease light, all forms of light. It's hilarious when I'm with Amy and we're in a hotel. She hates those big cracks under the door of the hotel room where light comes through. And I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be just towels all over below the door, any place around in the room. If they've got, a clock radio, there's a towel over. It's just so funny. It's like, what happened? We had like a storm of towels in the middle of the night because she's trying to get rid of light. Light is toxic to your sleep at night. So we want to keep the light as low as possible. Room darkening shades, fantastic. And even something as simple as an eye mask cover. Okay, but we got to keep light to that it's dark as possible. We got to keep it as cool as possible. And then you might think a little bit about having the air more moist. We don't want too dry of air, especially in the winter. So using something like a humidifier to help increase some of the moisture in the air so that you're breathing well and that the air is moistened. If you're having like dry skin or maybe a bloody nose, something like that, you'll know that, man, it's way too dry, okay? Or even like a dry cough, okay? That we want to add more moisture. The kind of rule of thumb that they've always said on this is whatever would make a mushroom grow is what you want your room to be like. You want it to be dark, moist, and cold. Okay, super important. And then we want to think about these nutritional things at night. And then we want to think about these supplements and how we're using them. A great way to start with this is for us to do a sleep study. We have these in-home sleep studies that you can take home and we can measure your sleep. And with that, we can put together a regimen that matches your sleep cycle perfectly. Because remember, sleep is the golden chain that binds my body to health. And I need to be a sleep expert. You need to be a sleep expert. Your kids need you to be a sleep expert. Your spouse needs you to be a sleep expert. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Let's go for it. And when we're sleeping better, we're going to grow better.
Great radio doesn't end here. Catch the full episode and dive into our archive.